By the way, did you catch the Abraham plan?
Didn't catch that, man. What's going on?
So this last week, you may have caught this. Some people in the audience may have caught this, maybe tuned in. So Jay Abraham, he's gotten a lot more involved in the old real estate industry. Like everybody else, there's money to be made, so why wouldn't it draw him back? And so I'm on a teleseminar. I'm going to tune in. Maybe he has something to say. Smart guy, $9.4 billion man. And so I got the cliff notes here for you. And paraphrase, this was 60 minutes. Here's what he said. It's imperative. It's important. And this was his plan for success. Again, these are the cliff notes. This is paraphrased. It's imperative. It's important to be strategic and progressive, to have a sequential, predictable system, prepared. It's got to be a well-thought-out plan. It's vitally necessary. It must be dynamic and forward-thinking, something revolutionary that sets you apart, preeminent. You must be open-minded. You need a system, advanced positioning. You need to be strategic, a focus on high-dollar activities. Say goodbye to mediocrity and welcome to greatness. The key is strategy, a system to create authority. It's important, imperative. Breakthroughs come from outside the real estate industry, not from within. Control, command, the preeminent person in your marketplace. That's who you got to be. It's about strategy. Integrated synergistic systems. Progressive, forward-thinking. Multiple factors combined. This is what gives you influence. It's imperative, progressive, dynamic, unified. The strategy of preeminence, competitive edge, status, impact, leverage. Did I mention you must be strategic? Yes, Jay, you did. 400 times in a 60 minutes. We get it. You have firmly impressed upon us, be strategic. And yes, we understand your use of you love adjectives. You got a firm command over the thesaurus. By the way, one more time, Jay, real quick. What was the main takeaway from what you wanted people to gather? Be strategic. Yep, got it. Just didn't want anybody to miss it. And see, this is what drives me crazy about speakers, consultants, is that they never get to the meat. They all have the talk, and they talk in vague generalities. The reason people use the word strategic is because it doesn't mean anything. You can define it however you picture it in your mind. And so there's always a magic secret that they keep you chasing. Now, don't misunderstand. They'll sell you something that promises you to be more strategic. That's what this is. It's a sales pitch. It's not a training event. It's a sales pitch. It's a teleseminar meant to get you to a seminar, which at the seminar, they're going to pitch you something else that's promised going to make you more strategic. It could be Infusionsoft. It could be a mastermind. It could be coaching. It could be more scripts and dialogues. Everything is designed to make you more strategic. And so I'll offer you a shortcut. If you want to get rid of low-dollar activities and focus on high-dollar activities, but you don't know exactly what those are, there's a book. It's called The 80-20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. And on page 119, flip it open. And I mean, let's face it, Jay Abraham, I don't want this to be disparaging in any way. He's brilliant. Nobody is doubting that. But he's a corporate guy. He doesn't care about the real estate agent. His advice is targeted at the company doing 10 million, 15 million, 50 million. His sole focus right now is partnerships. That's what he wants. He's used to working with teams, talented teams, not individual entrepreneurs. And yes, all of his strategies do translate. They do. For every one of those strategies, here's what it comes down to and why most agents can't ever execute them. Because it requires skills. He doesn't teach you the skills, he teaches you the strategies. And if you don't have certain skills, then you can't execute. And conceptually, you get it. To be the authority, you need symbols. You need to write books, you need to write articles. You need to have endorsements, public platforms, appearances where you're interviewed on radio or television, where you got media support, and or you create platforms where you can spread your message like Roger Ailes did at Fox News, and then hire people to fill his network. The Rush Limbaughs, the Glenn Becks, walking, talking messages. But if anybody ever talks about being strategic and then tells you to cold call, Here's what to do. Ignore that person. Write them off. Forget anything he has said and or is saying. Cold calling is the antichrist when it comes to authority. It's not even a skill. It's an activity. Worse, it's an activity that destroys and sabotages your status. The phone call, never forget this, is the tool of the salesman. Okay, so go to page 119, and you're going to see 4 different columns. On the left, there will be $10 per hour activities. To the right of that, there's a $100 per hour activities column, then $1,000, and then a $10,000. And see, the guru party, they want you to believe that right now you're doing $10 per hour activities. And that if you hire them as coaches or if you buy their systems or courses, then they can get you to $100 per hour. And then they can get you to $1,000 per hour. And then ultimately, after 4 years of coaching or 9 years of masterminds and you've spent $50,000, you can do $10,000 activities per hour.
You know what's interesting too is the $10 per hour work, making those phone calls. If you're the coach basically advising the real estate agent that they've got to make their 3 hours of calls per day, and they have an accountability session once a week, and they get on the phone and then they say, well, did you make your calls this week? Hell no, they didn't make their calls. They didn't want to make the calls because they got rejected on the first one, as you mentioned earlier, and they didn't want to make any more calls. So it's easy because now it's no longer the coach's fault.
Yeah,
it's no longer the coach's fault.
I mean, we've talked about it before. You can force yourself to do anything that you hate for a week or two or a day or two, but it's not something you're going to do long term because you hate it. Why would you ever want to build a business where what you do, you hate doing? And so this entire premise of climbing ladders, it's destructive, it's dangerous, it's precisely why so many agents fail. So Robert Ringer talks about this in his book, To Be or Not to Be Intimidated, about leapfrog theory. And he says nobody needs to start at the bottom. You don't need to start at $10 and work your way up rung to rung to rung from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000. You just start at the top. And so if I'm going to enter into the market, here's what I want to do. I want to have a book to my credit. I want to be an author. I want to have articles. I want to have videos. Within the first 30 or 60 days, I want to have been interviewed on radio. I want to have been talked about in my local newspaper. I want to be seen on television. I want to be seen as a leader in my business community for partnerships, cooperation. In short, I want to be seen as a someone. This is what I talk about in my book, Defeat Mega Agents. The way you gain power, the way you gain influence, is you be seen as a someone, not as a quote-unquote real estate agent. I know. It gets back to the question, how do you make this happen? Okay, the answer is very simple. The answer is simple. If you were given the opportunity, the invitation, to speak at a TED.com conference, if you were given 18 minutes to speak to the brightest minds in the world, to share your ideas, what would you say? What would you say? You're given 18 minutes. What's your message? What would you say? What do you stand for? And see, if you don't have an answer to that question, then everything else, all this talk about quote-unquote being strategic, it's all bullshit. Do you know how Obama got elected president? Do you know how George W. Bush got elected president? Do you know how Clinton got elected president? And how every president before those three got elected president, including Ronald Reagan, the great communicator? By having a message. It's the Roger Ailes blueprint for success at Fox, too. 3 million viewers versus 500,000. Okay, and typically that message is written by some speechwriter that you've never heard of in some back room who is putting the words in the mouth of the president, who is inspiring and moving millions. Folks, this is the skill that they never talk about. They don't want to tell you. It's the art of copywriting, message creation, and writing for influence. Why? Because 99% of people don't believe that they can write. And so rather than convince them that they can, or teach them that they can, they offer up, be strategic. No. You have to learn how to craft a message. Okay? And the guru party, before being strategic even matters, you must learn this skill. And if you don't have it, you either have to develop it and or you have to hire someone like a presidential speechwriter who can do it for you. What is your TED Talk? What would you say? What is your message to those 200 or 400 people in the audience? After all, without that, what do you have worth saying? Without a powerful message, without the ability to move people, why do any marketing or advertising? What are you going to say that is worth saying? Nothing. And so now, just like every other real estate agent, and this is why 91% of agents fail or 90% of agents fail, you're restricted to go out there to prospect, to beg, both low status, low dollar activities that will never elevate you to performing at $10,000 per hour activities. The better approach is to move all the way over to the right, find the $10,000 per hour activities. You'll see that there's message creation, and start working on that. Because now, when you put that message out into the marketplace, you inspire people. You capture the minds of people. They remember you. And all of those people come flooding to your doorstep. And you can hire people now to do the low dollar activities, the administrative work, the nuts and bolts. And this is why my main message for this show, for my book, for everything that I write and publish and put for the public to see, is tread carefully with the guru party. There's always an agenda. Be skeptical. Second guess and question everything. They will deceive you if you allow them. Debate the merit of every one of their ideas. At minimum, even if they don't intentionally attempt to deceive you, because I'm not saying every single person out there who sells resources is a terrible person, but at minimum, they're going to take you on the long, winding path to success, where strategically, they'll pass you by all the sales tables where they peddle their wares, all the coaching programs, all the website companies, with plenty of opportunities to join their coaching programs, to extract as much money out of you as possible. They're no different than Trulia or Zillow or Realtor.com or NAR or any other government bureaucracy who wants to squeeze you like a turnip. By the way, that's the real reason people hire Jay Abraham. To his credit, he's masterful at it, separating people from their money. Strategically. Good for the client if you hire him. You get people not to make one purchase, but to come to a seminar, and then to buy all the products that you recommend and pitch from the stage, and then join coaching programs at $10,000 or $15,000 a year, and then to escalate to masterminds and on and on and on. Good for the client who's selling you the resources, not so good always for you. And this isn't hard to figure out, folks. And it's why I'm so passionate about doing this show, is in exposing the reality behind all of it. By skipping the first most important critical step, they keep you chasing the secret. If you'll just craft a message first, everything else takes care of itself, because now you have something to say, something worth saying.